Hello, everybody, and welcome to a very special stream here on Amateur Hour Sports. Today is the day we go through the entire first round of the 2024 NBA Draft, and I'm going to be giving you all of my selections. Yes, for the top 30 picks, a full first-round mock draft for the very first time ever. I've done a complete mock draft of the entire first round. Previously, I've done a full mock of the lottery picks, the top 14 picks. I did that in the Scotty Barnes draft, which was in 2021. But decided for this one, is just a whole wide range of opportunities of where the Raptors could have ended up. And honestly, just felt like this year was a year to go through all of the top 30 picks, go through who I think is going to end up where. I'm going to preface this one by saying that I am by no means a draft expert here. I'm not an expert on these players, but getting the sense from my overall feel for the players from what I've seen, getting my sense from what people smarter than me who are more in tune with these sort of prospects than I am to see and gauge their thoughts on the proceedings. I've kind of tried to use all of that in conjunction to create my mock draft here with a little bit of thought into who I think the best players are and a little bit of thought into where they are likely to end up, thinking about fit, thinking about the type of player that should be going into a specific destination. So hopefully we can be decently accurate here, but obviously the big draws, so to speak, as to what you want to see here, who I would have as the first overall pick, who I would have in the lottery as a whole, and for the people who do follow my content, who do follow the things I do here on YouTube, in particular with the Raptors space, then you will have some interest potentially in who the Raptors select with the 19th overall pick. So this is going to be a fun stream. Don't know how long it's going to take because usually I do these streams for about an hour, but there's 30 picks and we're already 6 minutes in. So am I really going to do 2 minutes per pick or less? Probably not. We might go a little bit longer here. Maybe I don't have a lot to say about certain players. We shall see. The stream will go as long as it needs to go for me to convey my message about each player and do it in a decently concise manner. So hopefully you guys are all ready to go. Any comments, any discussion pieces along the way, please make sure you do get in the chat. I won't be as active as normal because I'm trying to get to everything that I have here, but please do get your comments in the chat, and I'll do my best to get to everything along the way. Upcoming content on the channel, by the way, just to kind of tease what else we have going on here for the next few days. I'm hoping to do a video actually for the next 3 days in a row on the main channel here, 2 of which talking about draft stuff, 1 of which talking about the recent OG Anunoby rumors about his or lack of a signing of a contract with the New York Knicks. That's going to be pretty interesting to go over. On Thursday, another live stream. I'm going to do pretty similar to this. I'm going to talk about the draft, but go through my Raptors specific board and who I want the Raptors to be taking with specifically the 19th overall pick. And we're doing all this get ready for the draft Wednesday, June 26th. I'll be live after the conclusion of the 10th overall pick. I'll be live for the 11th overall pick onwards for the first round, of course, to see where the Raptors, what the Raptors do at 19th overall. I'll be live next Thursday as well over here for the second round of the draft, specifically for the 31st overall pick for the Raptors. But a little bit of a bonus, the Tuesday before the draft, the day before the draft, I'll be doing another one of these. So in 1 week's time, I'll update this mock draft where I see fit to reflect the things that are going to change over the next week or so, because naturally things are going to change and teams are going to make their promises. We're going to get the news about that. We're going to get the reports about that. So it's only right for me to come out and shift things, hopefully only a little bit. Hopefully I can nail some certain things here in advance. Also along the way, I have a Bleacher Report stream. Follow my Bleacher Report page on the Bleacher Report app at Jacob_Gramegna. Tomorrow I'll be talking about trades regarding the draft for the Raptors. And Tuesday before the draft, I'll also be going through specifically who I want the Raptors to select with their 19th overall pick. And again, their 31st overall pick. What's going on to Winner One and Mohammed in the chat? Thank you guys for joining the historic occasion, the first full round mock draft in Amateur Hour Sports history. Let's see how I do over here. Winner One says, well, the prediction from Winner One is that I have Zach Edey at 19 to the Raptors. We shall see. And another prediction from Winner One is that I do not have Bronny in the first round. We shall see. But I'm doing well, Mohammed. Thanks so much for asking. I'm excited for this one here, and hopefully it goes over pretty well. Matt T, welcome back. What's going on in the chat as well? OG, would Loki still fit a roster? OG would high-key fit every roster in the National Basketball Association. He is the most plug-and-play player out there. How's dinner? Good. Pizza. I know yesterday I was talking about eating healthier, which I have been, but my girlfriend did bring home pizza, and I wasn't going to say no. So I still am doing. I still had a good day, diet-wise. But yes, pizza for dinner. All right, let's get into things here. So I have all 30 picks. I have a little blurb on the graphic about what I think about each player, but I'm going to go hopefully a little bit more in depth for each of the players along the way. I'll probably put more effort. The higher in the draft, the more effort I will put into giving you a description overall of the player. The lower in the draft, the more difficult it may become to do that because, again, it's hard to be a really extremely knowledgeable about each of the players in the first round of the draft. But again, I am going to do my best here. So let's get started with that first overall pick. This one has been hotly contested based on the big mock drafts that are out there. The player that is expected to go in the first overall position is Zachary Rizache. But when you look at the betting markets, which often better reflect the overall sentiment around the draft, the typical player that is listed, it's not widely considered to be the most accurate. It's not a huge favorite here, but favored to go first overall is definitely Alex Sarr. But who do I have here for the Atlanta Hawks? Honestly, I think they could go either way. And I think that even though it's considered to be Alex Sarr, Rizache to go as the first two players in the draft, if a team there really likes what they see from a player, they might just go like off the board a little bit and go for a player that's not expected to go in this position. This draft really is wide open with the overall lack of high-tier talent. Unfortunately, it is what it is as it comes to this draft. But for me, I think that the player who should be the safest bet that the Atlanta Hawks should look to go to with that first overall pick, I am going to go with Alex Sarr. I just think you've got the most potential to find a player that is going to be really good for your team for a long period of time. Alex Sarr is the player that can be the defensive anchor for the team. I think that there's always going to need for that type of player. Look, you're finding a center here in Alex Sarr who, again, can anchor that defense. He is a monster on the inside when it comes to scoring. He's got great length, great size to the position, and there's some very good three-point upside here. There's a reason that he has been widely considered to be the number one prospect in the draft, and it does make sense for the Atlanta Hawks to go in this direction. Whether or not they want to trade Trae Young, I think that there is always going to be the need for a player like this, and I think that there is just a little bit more upside and a little bit of a higher floor when it comes to Alex Sarr compared to what Zachary Rizache can bring to the Atlanta Hawks. Ultimately, when it does come to draft night, I'm not going to be surprised either way if it is Rizache going number one or Alex Sarr at this present point. As we get closer to the draft, we usually have a much better idea. Market consensus for betting really does give you a good picture. Same with any report that comes from Woj. Maybe not Shams, who did mess up with the second overall pick last year. First overall pick with the shoe, and obviously with Victor Wembanyama. But for this year, the player that I would go with in the first overall position is going to be Alex Sarr. That's who I feel the most confident in to have the strongest career out of the group here. So going into, what have I done? Going into the second pick, it makes it pretty simple here. The second pick is going to be Zachary Rizache. I think this offers the Washington Wizards a pretty interesting opportunity here to kind of not be able to screw this draft up. It's clear that the top two players in the draft are Alex Sarr and Zachary Rizache. For the Wizards, they just take whichever one falls to them at second overall. And no matter what, they can't really look bad in drafting that player in the second overall position. The Atlanta Hawks certainly couldn't look bad. If Alex Sarr doesn't really pan out and Zachary Rizache does, well, the Atlanta Hawks look stupid. If the Wizards take Rizache and it's clear Sarr's the better player, well, he wasn't available. And it was clear that Rizache had to be the player that went second overall. So the Wizards can't really screw up in this position here. unless they go off the board, and then we'll have to see. But if they go the safe bet, they're going to go for the player that is widely considered to be a top 2 player in the draft. Riza Shea has the potential to be a top-tier 3-and-D player. There's always going to be that sort of need here. He's got the defense already. He's got that positional versatility, specifically in the defensive positions. Brings that switchability as a forward that every team is looking for. Needs to prove himself a little bit more as an interior finisher and as somebody who can hit those jump shots. But, at the very least, he's knocking down threes. He's still young. He's already a very good defender. There's going to be a need for this in the NBA. So, ultimately, again, it's a pretty safe pick for the Wizards here. It would also be a safe pick for the Atlanta Hawks to go with Riza Shea in the first position. But I'm going to go with Alex Sarr 1, Riza Shea at the 2. Now, the third pick here, this one has been widely mocked. The expectation is that the Houston Rockets do go with Reed Sheppard, and I'm just going to have to agree here. I think that this is the right play here. I think, first of all, Reed Sheppard, guard, short, yes, can play both guard positions. I think, thankfully for them, they've got size. Fred VanVleet, even though he's short, can play above his size, but Reed Sheppard really brings that mentality that I think that Ime Udoka is trying to instill within the team. But beyond maybe the fit mentally that Reed Sheppard brings, he is just an analytical dream. I'm not sure if that fits what the Houston Rockets are looking for necessarily the most, but he is. He's an analytical dream. He is hyper efficient on all 3 levels of play. Is an elite shooter, just completely elite shooter. That's just going to take away a lot of the problems that the lack of height maybe gives Reed Sheppard on the floor. But the shooting eliminates a lot of problems. Honestly, defensively, he is very good. I've written down there that he's a pesky defender. He just has a great sense for the game, great feel for the game. This is a shoo-in, top tier number 1 pick in a lot of years if he has better height. He just doesn't. He just doesn't have that athleticism. But again, the overall feel for the game, the overall sense for the game, mixed with the hyper efficiency in so many different levels of the game, makes him a really good pick here for the Houston Rockets at number 3. Once again, I think it's really difficult to narrow in on specifics here with the draft here and just the wide range of outcomes that we could see. But I think that a good pick here for the Houston Rockets is Reed Sheppard, because that jump shot's always going to be there, and that's always going to be effective, and that's always going to be something that an NBA team is going to be able to use. Now we really start to get to where things can go off the boil here, where things can really change, really be different, especially with a team like the San Antonio Spurs, who have typically had the confidence to just get their guy in these spots. But I don't think that the San Antonio Spurs, with the 4th overall pick, are going to pass up on the opportunity to take a player who's got the tools to work with and the overall feel for the game, like Matas Buzelis. Again, I could see a guy like Buzelis falling maybe to the Spurs, get him at 8. I can see the Spurs passing on him altogether. He kind of slides into the latter stages of the top 10 or even the latter stages of the lottery here. But there's just too much upside and too many great tools to build with. I think that there is a good fit with Victor Wembanyama, which is something that the Spurs have to take into consideration. In this spot, the Spurs have typically looked for size and length, as a lot of teams do. Matas Buzelis can bring that. He can bring switchability. He can he can bring shot making to the team. And again, it's just not somebody I can see the Spurs passing on. Maybe in this position, they look to one of the point guards because they kind of do need a point guard. Maybe they feel as though they can address that with the 8th overall pick, so they ignore that, just get the best player available. I feel really good about the best player available in this position being Matas Buzelis. Therefore, he does end up in the 4th overall spot to the San Antonio Spurs. Let's move into the 5th overall pick here. This one's tough. Really tough to try and zero in on who the Detroit Pistons will end up going with that 5th overall pick. They've just had so many draft day, I wouldn't even call it blunders. They just haven't quite knocked one out of the park as of yet. They've just got a lot of good young players, maybe even too many decent players to work with. And I think somebody that brings something different here, and this one may be a bit of a cop-out because this is mimicking a lot of popular mock drafts right now, but I do buy into the Pistons going for a player like Cody Williams with the 5th overall pick. He's a big wing who has great levels of defense, and he's listed as a forward, but really the best position for him might be as a guard forward. And I think that's something that the Detroit Pistons can tap into a little bit more. Now, I don't think it's ideal for any prospect to end up in Detroit. Monty Williams kind of fell off the cliff as a coach last season here, but it's definitely a player who's got the size to be effective in the modern NBA. He's got good handling, especially on the open floor, knows how to score the basketball, and there's a great degree of upside here. This is a bit of a reach. Cody Williams could easily fall into the later stages of the lottery, much more than anybody else that I've listed here. But I buy into the Detroit Pistons buying into what Cody Williams can bring to their team. And I think that they would go for a player like this at 5th overall, especially considering the types of players around him. That there's just nobody in this spot here that really fits into what the Pistons kind of need. And I know you want to just go talent over fit at this point, but the Pistons have so many young players that they do have to start considering fit a little bit. And I think that Cody Williams kind of ticks the boxes for upside and for overall fit with the team. So I very much do like them going for Cody Williams and reaching a little bit with the 5th overall pick. Number 6, player that could go in the 4 or 5 spot for sure. But I think that this is a player that fits well with what they already have over there in Charlotte. That's Stephon Castle, point guard coming out of UConn, and he's got the size, and he is a fantastic defender. I don't think that this is going to take away touches from a guy like LaMelo Ball, a guy like Brandon Miller. I don't think that the Hornets want to go for a center in this spot. Therefore, guys like Klingon, who are mocked pretty highly in other places, I don't see them going Klingon here. I think Stephon Castle, they look at another guy who can handle the ball and help out at LaMelo Ball. I might have said Lonzo earlier. LaMelo Ball, of course. But the future of LaMelo Ball is uncertain. And if LaMelo Ball's not there, you can trust Stephon Castle with the ball in his hands. And if LaMelo's there, I think that Stephon Castle as well complements him pretty nicely. He needs to work on his jump shot. He needs to get that down a little bit better, especially the 3-point shot. But, if a guy is showing great signs of being a lockdown defender, that's not really going to go away in the NBA when he also has the size. So, Castle in this spot, I like him here. I like him a lot as a prospect. I can see him going higher, especially if the Spurs want a point guard. Stephon Castle would probably be the guy for them, but I don't see them passing Buzelis. I don't see the Pistons going for another guy who's not really bringing enough offense. So I think Castle can fall to 6. If he does fall to 6, I cannot see the Hornets passing up on the opportunity to take him. Number 7 on the list to the Portland Trailblazers. I'm going off of the consensus here. The consensus in this position for number 7 is that the Portland Trailblazers take Donovan Klingon. Why? They got DeAndre Ayton. Why would you draft another center? It's a fun idea that you could play a center and have DeAndre Ayton as the 4, but in actuality, that's dumb. And it's not getting the most out of DeAndre Ayton whatsoever. But bringing in some defense to this team was some offensive spark plugs overall. You've got a lot of offensive talent here with Portland. Bring in a guy who's going to bring in some athleticism and defense. And Ron Holland didn't really wow people at Combine and in workouts with his shooting. That's probably going to hurt his stock a little bit, but I just don't really see any other direction the Portland Trailblazers go here. Now, when it comes to the overall accuracy of this mock draft, everyone's got the Portland Trailblazers taking Donovan Klingon. So if they do take Klingon, Holland probably slides quite a bit here, and things really shake up for the rest of the top, or just for the rest of the lottery overall. But I just don't see why the Blazers would go Klingon. And I can see a whole lot of reasons why they prioritize switchability and athleticism in the forward spots to help with this team. Ron Holland makes a lot of sense and ticks a lot of the boxes that the Blazers need. If he starts to slip, I can see somebody trying to trade up to get him. 7 is maybe a touch too high, but I think that the max Ron Holland should end up is 11 in this draft. So I'm fine with putting him in the 7th overall position. Next up, at the 8th spot, going to the Spurs. This is where the San Antonio Spurs get their point guard. There's a few point guards they could go with here, but I don't think that there is any reason to pass up on Rob Dillingham if he does end up in the 8th overall position. A hyper-athletic point guard who can get his own shots. I think it would be a bit of a dream to work with Rob Dillingham. I misspelled his name, excuse me, but it's a D-I. D-I-L-L. Anyways, I think that there is a lot of reason for Dillingham to fit with Victor Wembanyama. Look, Dillingham is not the most savvy playmaker, but the shot making, the spacing that he could provide, this is just the best player available here. I think I actually kind of didn't term him correctly here in my description. He's not the most athletic point guard, but he is constant with self-creation, constant with shot making, consistently putting pressure on defenses. It is somebody that you are going to have to consistently worry about when it comes to him having the ball in his hands. I think that's going to aid Victor Wembanyama, and I think that Dillingham in his year with Kentucky was showing flashes of playmaking upside that I think the San Antonio Spurs of all teams are going to help be able to tap into, first of all. And I think that playing with a guy like Wembanyama, it's just going to make that passing and playmaking come a whole lot easier to him. This is the type of point guard that they have been missing. It takes a lot of pressure off their offense. And again, they need a point guard. This is the most talented one available in this position. Dillingham going 8 here makes sense to me. Again, I can see them going in different directions, but I like Rob Dillingham to go in the 8th overall spot, which leaves 9th overall, Donovan Clingan going to the Memphis Grizzlies. It's clear that this team needs a center. Why not bring in Clingan? He's mocked to go a lot higher in other spots. You know, the Spurs don't need a center. Look, you can try all day and say draft Clingan, play Wembanyama at the 4. The team was horrible with Victor at the 4. They got way better with him at the 5. He's just going to have to learn to play in that position. No need to make that more difficult on him and draft Clingan. I've already went through how the Portland Trailblazers have DeAndre and they don't need a center. Charlotte probably want to work with Mark Williams a little bit more. Don't see them going for a center. The Pistons definitely don't need a center, which leads Clingan to this position. I think at 9, we've just gone a little bit too far here, and we've got a team here in the Memphis Grizzlies who needs a center. Now, what I said about Victor Wembanyama is that he's better at the 5, but I'll tell you what, a power forward who's absolutely not better at the 5 is Jaren Jackson Jr. This guy won a freaking Defensive Player of the Year award playing with a rim protector where he can play as the 4 and be that help defender on the inside. That's where Jaren Jackson Jr. is at his best. And I think that the flashes of self-creation that Jaren Jackson showed in the most recent season are very promising and promising enough to have a lot of degree of confidence in not only play him as a 4 on defense, where he is at his best, but to continue to play him as a 4 on offense and not really hurt the spacing too much. Clingan provides a really good pick-and-roll partner for Ja Morant. He provides that rim protection, interior scoring, and I think the fit here makes a ton of sense for the Grizzlies to go here. I can see them trading this pick as well. I could actually see them trading it to the Raptors and getting Jakob Poeltl, but if Donovan Clingan's available, this makes just too much sense to not go down here. Perhaps there's other talent available, but there's a really good balance of fit and talent for Clingan that I think makes too much sense, again, to not go for him at 9th overall, which brings us to the 10th overall pick, which is, hang on. Got to fix my graphic here and get rid of that thing that's covering it. All right. Which brings us to our 10th overall pick, and this is far enough for Dalton Knecht to go. 11's like maybe 12 should be Dalton Knecht's max. There's a few guys that the Utah Jazz could go with, but I know Knecht's on the older side, but with a team that already has some decent talent on their team, somebody who brings so much scoring power, brings so much floor spacing, and is ready to go from day one. Definitely a great look for the Utah Jazz to go here. They haven't really been keen on trading Markkanen, which makes me think they still want to be decent. The mentality from this team has consistently been to try and win games. And Dalton Knecht is going to help him do that from day one. Still a decent level of potential here. One of the more closer to the ceiling sort of prospects, but there is a reason why a couple months ago, Dalton Knecht was expected to go in like the 20s, low 20s, high teens. And now he's widely considered to be a top 10 pick, or at the very least a lottery pick. Dalton Knecht to the Utah Jazz is where I'm going to go here. The Spurs might be interested. Definitely the Grizzlies might be interested. But I like him here to the Utah Jazz. Let's go through a little bit of the chat here. Let's see what people are thinking. Grogan, oh my goodness, this is amazing. Welcome back to the stream, Grogan. Thank you so much for coming through, hanging out. Glad to see you're doing better. Glad to see you back in the community. And again, I was hoping you're making some great progress here. Everybody is going to be so excited to see you out in the chat. Thank you so much. I'm surprised you don't have Knecht in the top 7. Yeah, I could see it. Definitely, if you just want that scoring power right away, especially like the Charlotte Hornets could maybe use something like that. I can see it. But I think some of these lower scale teams might prioritize a bit more upside, which is why I have him there, but definitely could go a bit higher. Could I see Klingon going to the Wizards? I personally really don't buy into the Klingon hype that he's been getting, which is also why I might have him a little bit lower here. I mean, I wouldn't rule it out completely, but I'd be pretty shocked on draft night if out of nowhere, Donovan Klingon got called at number 2. That would be quite the surprise. I think Riza Shea is safe for the Wizards. But yeah, as I was kind of saying earlier, there's not a ton of surprises here. Like this could shift around a lot, and if it does, Riza Shea maybe falls a little bit. I don't quite. I can see the Hawks taking him, but I don't quite get why Sarr is not the consensus number 1 guy in this draft. I don't know how you guys feel. Connect to the Pistons also does make sense. I could see them going that direction. But again, kind of feeling like upside might be more of a priority over there. Feeling better, back on my feet, finally home. That's awesome, Grogan. Thank you so much for tuning in. And thank you so much for continuing to update us along with the process. It is so amazing to see you back over there out in the community as well. Gregory, what's going on? How you doing? All right, guys, that is the top 10. Let's get into the rest of the lottery here. While we're paused here, great opportunity for you to take a second to hit that like button if you're enjoying the stream so far. Make sure you subscribe to the channel to get close to the NBA draft. There's going to be tons and tons and tons of draft content, more so specifically in the Raptors space. But I will be doing an updated version of this mock draft in 1 week's time, same place, on next Tuesday to just kind of amend anything I want to. You know what I mean? And see if there's anything different, because probably some different news is going to come out to change things. So let's go to the second column here, starting with the 11th pick. Again, a guy like Dellingham can easily fall here. I think that the way the draft I have it shaped up here kind of makes this one a bit difficult for the Chicago Bulls in the 11th overall position. I wouldn't rule out a trade from the Chicago Bulls just because there's kind of a gap. It makes it tough for them to pick here at 11, but best player here, I think, is Topic. I think if Nikola Topic does end up falling like quite a bit, I think he could still end in the latter stages of the lottery. It would just look really bad in a few years. Obviously, we're waiting to hear about the injury concerns. He tore his ACL. He's had some knee issues. Yes, as somebody who tore their ACL 1 year ago today. Exactly. Yes, I can understand there being complications with your knee, but if medical reports come back clear, this is not a guy that uses his athleticism to be effective. So I can kind of treat it as like it's not as important for him as it could be for other players. Here's a point guard who's 6'6", 6'7", amazing handles, just gets his own shot, knows how to find his own spots, knows how to get to the rim, and finishes there extraordinarily efficiently. Has good upside from a shooting standpoint, shot like 30% in 23-24, but for somebody who's not even going to be 19 at the time of the draft, all this guy has ever done is adapt to his competition and excelled against his competition. There is so much talent here. This is a guy who's clearly going way higher in this draft. if there are no knee complications. So this just has so much upside at 11 that Bulls in this spot got to go for the best player. If they rebuild, if they try to keep this thing going, Topic will still be effective regardless. Can't ignore the talent here for the Bulls at number 11. I could see them going for Connect, Dellingham, or Holland if they fall to this spot. But since they're not, I'm going to go with Topic here, which brings us to pick number 12. And for the Thunder, lot of ways that the Thunder could go here. But I actually think that it's going to be a little bit off script for what you would typically see from the Oklahoma City Thunder. I'm going to go with Devin Carter at number 12. 6'3" point guard with a 6'8" wingspan, who is an elite defender from day one. He's on the older side of things for this NBA draft, but you know, I remember like 2 or 3 weeks ago, I made a video saying that this is my guy for the Raptors at 19th overall. And what's great is that, like, not only might he be available, he should be available at 19 for the Raptors. He's typically considered to be an early 20s pick that the Raptors can snap up at 19. Well, not anymore. People have clued in. Devin Carter, I've seen as high as 8th in a variety of mock drafts, but I think this is a great fit next to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. So much better than what Josh Giddey provides to his team. At the very least, he is an elite defender with great size, an amazing rebounder as well, crashing the offensive glass, getting those rebounds, defensive glass, pushing out, getting it out into space. And on top of those great things he brings already, he has shown some amazing flashes from 3 this season. Now, what we're going to have to wait and see with Devin Carter is the shooting real? Because he hasn't really shot that well in his college career until his last season, which brought him from a second-round pick to what is now looking like a lottery pick. Has shot the ball well seemingly at combines and in workouts, and I think that the Thunder think that this is just a really good fit here next to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and the rest of the group, that it's tough for them to pass on him here in the 12th overall spot. I think somebody who also provides this role with maybe slightly more upside but a lower floor is Jacoby Walter. I could see him going as high as 12 here to the Oklahoma City Thunder as well. I originally had him here, decided to change it closer to the last second before this. I'm going to go with Devin Carter in the 12th overall position. This leaves a pretty tricky spot for the Sacramento Kings, and I can see the Sacramento Kings actually maybe just passing on making a pick altogether and trading off this pick, but it's always hard to do that and predict that, so we do have them selecting, and guess who? It's Jacoby Walter, the guy said who could go 12 to the Thunder. Jacoby Walter can fall as far as a team like the Raptors in the 19th overall position, but it's such an elite combination of 3 and D here that Jacoby Walter brings to the floor, and I think that he complements Fox so well with what he brings there that this is just a play you can't really afford to ignore here. De'Aaron Fox is not the most savvy defender. Jacoby Walter is, and he brings spacing. I just think this is a really good fit and a lot of talent and a good amount of upside here for the Sacramento Kings to go with in the 13th overall position that they can't be upset with. This could be a guy coming off the bench or starting. I think he brings a lot of the qualities that Davion Mitchell does on defense, but with a bit more size and more offensive prowess for sure. Jacoby Walter would love this for the Raptors as well. He fell that far, and I think he can, but I have him pretty high here because, look, everybody's out here looking for 3 and D. Everyone's looking for shooting and spacing. Everyone's looking for defense. Jacoby Walter very clearly brings both of those things to the table at the 2. Which brings us to the final pick of the lottery here, where I am going to have Tijan Salon going to the Portland Trailblazers. The reason I have him falling here, he's been slated to go a little bit higher. He's versatile. He's raw in the power forward position, but there's a lot of upside in a lot of areas, just a solid foundation to work with, but he's raw. It's going to take time. Guess who has time on their side to work with a prospect? It's the Portland Trailblazers, and I think that they will see the upside here and feel as though they can be the team that's patient and wait for that development to happen. So this is the farthest that I'm going to say Salon will drop, and I'm going to have the Portland Trailblazers taking him here to round off all of the lottery picks for our 2024 first-round mock draft. So if you're watching live right now, you're going to see the rest of the first round, and of course, the 19th overall pick where the Raptors are selecting. But if you're watching this back on the Clips channel, if you want to see the rest of the draft, head over to the main channel, Amateur Sports, check this out. But I hope you enjoyed here on the Clips channel for the top 14 picks, and I hope you enjoyed it enough to see what I have for the rest of the draft. A little bit of extra there for the, we're going to clip that and put it on the Clips channel here, but they don't get the rest of the draft like you guys do. Sorry if you do hear my dog. She's been a little bit fussy today. It's been really hot, so we haven't been able to take the dog out as much, which is making her a little bit cooped up and a bit fussy, but we're making it through. You don't think the Bulls want to risk another injury-prone player? Well, you say injured one. He's got injured once. You just got to go with the talent here. There's a gap there between Topic and the rest of the guys I have listed here. There's too much talent to ignore there. I think it'd be foolish if the results come back and he's fine to let him slip further. Letting him slip, well, I actually don't think the Thunder may not take him because I think he actually has a lot of parallels to Shea. Maybe the Thunder don't get him there, but maybe the Thunder just think, man, he's the best player here. Let's just go get him. If he doesn't go there, I think he goes 13 to the Sacramento Kings. I think he has a decent fit with De'Aaron Fox. Grogan says, I'm starting to feel that while the draft doesn't have a LeBron or Mike, they're all talents higher on average. Yeah, there's actually some guys in the late first round I feel decent about. So it's like, it's not like this draft with, LeBron and whoever 30, it's compressed. So you're not seeing a whole lot of differences, which is why some people can go way higher than expected and way lower than expected. No door shot today, but maybe at the end of the stream, actually, we can get to that. All right, let's get to the rest of the draft here. So pick 15. If you guys haven't noticed, no Zach Edey in the lottery for me. This number 15 to the Miami Heat, it goes against a lot of my beliefs here, but I can see the Miami Heat looking at Edey and thinking, there's a high floor here. We can play Bam at the 4 in some minutes. I think Bam is better at the 5 for them, but in some minutes when Bam's not on, we've got just elite rim protection, unmatched size, high floor, guy who can contribute seemingly right away. We have the switchable defenders to hide him better than a lot of teams can. That let's take the swing here for a player who we believe can fit and do a job for our team. Zach Edey, 15 to the Miami Heat. Again, I just, for the Heat, a lot of what makes this team work is the switchable defenders and Bam at the 5. But there's some specialist spots where Zach Edey, I think, can be effective, and I think that a team can make it work more than most who might recognize that is the Miami Heat. Zach Edey's got such a wide range of outcomes. It's really tough to predict. Maybe the Heat feel like they go in a different direction and go a different center here. Maybe they don't go center at all, but I think that this makes enough sense that the Heat go for it and take Zach Edey in the 15th overall position. I don't really want Edey at 19, which is strange because I have him here at 15, but I just think that he can make this work, and they're not as afraid to go for an older player who is more NBA ready with less upside. So Zach Edey, 15th overall, again, to the Miami Heat. 16th overall to the Philadelphia 76ers. They will eat this one up. Jared McCain falling all the way to 16. Has some late lottery upside for the draft, has 18th overall pick upside to end up with the Orlando Magic, but the Sixers need a point guard, and they're getting one who has excellent feel for the game overall, mixed with a wide range of abilities to hit threes. When I say wide range, there's a lot of different ways he can knock him down. He's a huge pull-up threat. He is a huge catch-and-shoot threat. He's great in the pick and roll, which will fit with Joel Embiid. Jared McCain is an excellent player and an excellent fit for the 76ers. I don't really need to explain further. Rowlett mentioned that I spelled Dilliam wrong. I'm aware I spelled Dilliam wrong. Apologies. I mentioned that earlier. I will fix before putting this draft out anywhere. I guess I could have fixed already, but next time I close this, I will fix it. Don't worry. I know I spelled it wrong. Number 17. Well, this is going to be my opinion on what the Lakers should do versus what the Lakers think they should do. So the Lakers might think that they need a center and that they need to play Anthony Davis the 4 to be better. This would be a complete waste for the Lakers to go with a center here. It's so obvious that they're better with AD at the 5. It's so obvious that Anthony Davis is better at the 5 because, first of all, his jump shot that we saw in the bubble, it's been a long time. It's still not here. We got to take it as the jump shot's not coming back. The team is so clearly better with floor spacing when Anthony Davis plays as the center. So getting a center, and there's none with excellent tracking for making threes in the NBA. There's some good ones for making threes in the NBA, but nothing great, nothing compelling enough for me to think the Lakers should go with a center here at 17. Now, they could, and if they're dumb, which they have been in the past, they can go for a guy like Khalil Ware here. Wouldn't be dumb because he's a good player. You can work with him, but dumb because of the way you're structuring the team with Anthony Davis. But if this guy falls to 17 overall, this is such a good fit from day one. You cannot ignore Tristan da Silva if you're the Los Angeles Lakers. NBA ready from day one. Brings you great size. He's 6'9", can play as a forward, as a 3. If he bulks up a bit, can start to play as a 4 as well. But amazing shooter. Fantastic shooter. And this just fits in so well with what the Lakers want to do from day one. I think he complements Anthony Davis and LeBron James extraordinarily effectively. This is what the Lakers have to be considering. They need to go from day one to maximize the LeBron James era, assuming he does stay with the team. But I'm telling you, drafting Tristan da Silva probably makes it a bit easier to convince LeBron because this is a good fit. Whether he's coming off the bench, I actually think he could start. I'm a big fan of Tristan da Silva, and I kind of be upset if he went here and the Raptors didn't have the opportunity to take him at 19. But maybe he will be available because, look, the Lakers might go center, might go a guy like Khalil Ware in this position. But Tristan da Silva makes so much sense for the Lakers here. You can tell by the way I'm describing it. The Lakers need to go da Silva if he's available at 17 based on the way I've laid out this mock draft. Number 18, right before the Raptors. Thankfully, this isn't a guy I really think the Raptors would want to take. But I'm going to go Johnny Furphy to the Orlando Magic. He's trended upwards on draft boards, and for good reason. He brings a lot of the qualities that the Orlando Magic are missing. They've got very ball-dominant Paolo Banchero, a guy who still wants the ball in Franz Wagner. He's a guy who scales really well down as a role player. Great off-ball shooter, movement shooter, getting open, knocking down his shots. Great cutter. Doesn't need the ball to be effective, and I think that's great. He provides the spacing and effectiveness as a role player that the Orlando Magic are going to be looking for. I think that his upside could see him a touch higher. I could see a Miami. I could actually any of the 3 teams above Orlando taking him, but that might be a bit of a stretch because I can equally see Furphy going down into the lower range of the first round as well. The Knicks are actually a decent destination for him, I would think, in the 24 or 25 overall spot, but I think Orlando see too much good here with Furphy to ignore, and they go with him at 18th overall, which brings us next. With our 2024 first-round mock draft, we have landed at pick number 19. This is where the Toronto Raptors will be selecting very likely in the first round of the draft. So, of the players available, what is the direction that the Toronto Raptors should be going with this selection? Well, there's a number of ways the Raps can approach this one. They can definitely look to bolster the center position, bolster the depth over there. With Jakob Poeltl and Kelly Olynyk on the team, they've got 2 good centers, but they don't really have a lot of... Oh my God, my dog. They don't really have a lot of rim protection coming off the bench, especially if Jakob Poeltl's injured. That was apparent last season when Jakob Poeltl was in fact injured. They don't have that third center. But they also may feel as though they need to go with a center who's more so on perhaps the timeline of Scotty Barnes, RJ Barrett, and Emmanuel Quickley. Not as bought into that theory because Jakob Poeltl's 28. It's not like he's like a grandpa compared to these other players. But A lot of people have suggested the Raptors do go for a center in this spot, but I don't think this is where Masai Ujiri does go for a center. What I have been pretty adamant on for a while with the 19th overall pick is the Raptors going for a backup point guard who does have the ability to scale up to be a starter down the line. And the way I've laid out the mock draft here, there is a player that kind of fits a lot of the boxes that I want to tick for the Raptors in the 19th overall spot. So if the Raptors want to go in a different direction, Khalil Ware would be my center. Keep an eye on Yves Missi for sure. If the Raptors want to go in a different direction, more so in line with what they've done in the past, they want to go with a forward here who brings size, switchability, athleticism. A lot of mock drafts right now of Keyshawn George going to the Raptors at 19th overall. While I don't dislike that pick, nor would I overall dislike going for a Khalil Ware in this spot, I've just grown to be really fond of bigger point guards. And if I can't have Devin Carter because now he's way too popular, then I can have somebody who brings a lot of upside, and we have the patience to see where that goes in Carlton Carrington to the Raptors with the 19th overall pick. And I think for Carlton Carrington, what is so mesmerizing in a way to me is the size mixed with the comfortability and confidence on the ball, mixed with the pull-up threat, and overall just quality point guard play. It's just something that this Toronto Raptors team has been missing, and I don't think Carrington at all is going to be somebody who's affecting the Raptors from day one, but we got to be patient with this team. We got to be honest with ourselves as Raptors fans and know that this is going to be a bit of a project here. This is not going to be a day one sort of player, and this is not going to be a day one sort of team. We're not going to come out the gates likely and be a playoff team out of nowhere. So we can have the patience to go for a guy like Carlton Carrington, who I firmly believe has the upside to really affect this team going forward. It might take a bit more time like it did with Grady Dick out the gate. It might take a little bit more time, but he's 6'5" in shoes, great size, 6'8" wingspan, not even going to be 19 years old at the time of the NBA draft, and has just shown a great degree of comfortability in his first season of college basketball, scoring almost 14 points per game, hauling in 5 rebounds, 4 assists. Look, it's not the most efficient play, but efficiency comes with age. He's just got the smarts to play in the point guard spot. He's got the ability to create his own shots. And as the Raptors work with this guy and fine-tune his abilities, there is a really, really good player here. One of the issues will be it's going to be a lower floor than some other guys. It's not a safe pick by any means, but there is a lot to work with that I think the Raptors can have a great degree in confidence, a great degree of confidence in. His main trade, as you will, on the floor is his shot making and knows how to get that shot. Some of it can be maybe a little bit reliant on mid-range, but he's such a smooth operator in those areas that I think that you can move that jump shot further back to be a much bigger threat from three. I mean, look, he's already shooting 32% from three as an 18-year-old. If we can, work with his game and work with that already present jump shot and get it behind the three-point line, there should be some confidence that this player can be extraordinarily effective for the NBA level. He's showing great flashes of playmaking. He's already a good ball handler. He's already super confident. This guy's got the ability to be a triple-double threat on a night-to-night basis who uses his good frame to keep players in front of him. There are some things he's going to have to work on in this position. We see the efficiency, and that could raise a little bit of alarms, but I've tried to clear up that so far. But even though he's not the most athletic guy, he does keep players in front of him. He has the good size, and I think that size makes you confident enough that he can play next to Emmanuel Quickley as well. You could have Emmanuel Quickley maybe a little bit more off-ball in some settings as like a two-guard on offense, and you're not sacrificing too much size here because Carrington is 6'5" and has that 6'8" wingspan. So I think for a bit of a worry Raptors fans have for a guard, and a bit of a worry that I have as well, is if you do go for a point guard, like if you're higher up, you go for a guy like Rob Dillingham, a guy I really like, you're sacrificing a lot of size there because in an event where you get the upside you're looking for with this point guard and you maybe want to start starting him next to Quickly, you just don't have a lot of size there. That's not going to be the case here for Carlton Carrington. So the upside I really like and the fit I really like. And with just so much talent and such a good base of talent to work with, I think that this is something the Raptors should be very keen on wanting to work with and wanting to develop in their system. And maybe that's going to cost half a season in the G League. But I think it works out really well for Carlton Carrington, where he's not going to be going a lot later in the first round, but where he's going to have to be a bit more patient for his opportunities. The Raptors can give him the platform to get playtime and get reps from day one, and therefore be effective, more effective in the longer term. The situation makes sense for him. The situation makes sense for the Raptors. I definitely want to go Carlton Carrington if he's available at 19th overall, given the mock draft that we have so far. There's other guys that I would certainly consider here. If Tristan da Silva starts to fall, definitely would look at Tristan da Silva in this spot. I think there's an outside chance Jared McCain falls here. I think there's a realistic chance Jacoby Walter falls to the 19th overall pick, but Carlton Carrington is my guy here. If not, a guy like Tyler Kolek as well, who I have 20th overall to the Cleveland Cavaliers. That's another player that I would be interested in, but I think that Carrington brings a little bit too much upside to ignore at 19th overall. When I brought that up for the channel, maybe some people didn't really love that. Everyone's really sold on centers right now, and it's just a lot of guys the Raps could go with. But what are your guys' overall feelings on Carlton Carrington? You think I'm on with this one? You think I'm off? I don't know. I'm not super convinced that Masai goes this direction, but I really like Carrington here. How old is Marcus Gasol, Raptor? He was in probably early mid-30s area, so you can still be effective there. Yeah, you can tell I was going Carrington. I mean, you've watched my videos. I think it would have made sense. You think Daron Holmes at 19 as well wouldn't be wrong. I think I prefer other centers. But I do like Holmes. He will be in the first round of this draft. Question: if Orlando takes Carrington at 18, who do you take instead? And DeSilva's already picked 2. I would look at Tyler Kolek. I hope I'm saying that correctly. Isaiah Collier would be one to consider as well. I've been pretty low on Collier. Like a month ago when he was mocked in like the late lottery, I looked at him as a guy like, man, this is definitely a player that could slip into the 20s. I just don't really see a lot of the appeal here, and he might be living a lot off of early stage of the college season. Collier was projected to go first overall, so he's fallen to a significant degree, and I think there's reason why. Carlton Carrington has the spacing upside that Collier does not, and I don't think Collier does well with the type of players that are around right now for the Raptors. But I don't think I'd be upset. Remes brings up Ryan Dunn. Is he most likely first pick, second round? He's an interesting one to go 31st overall. You know what? We're not going to do the 31st overall pick, but if we did do the 31st overall pick in this mock draft, Ryan Dunn would be that 31st overall pick, by the way. So he's not going to be here, but I could see him going in the first round because I do like him as a player. I don't see anything in Carrington. Damn. I'm a fun guy doesn't like Carrington. Interesting. Grogan says I haven't looked at a free agent center, but are there any of the Raps would the Raps be interested in him? So the free agent market is not fantastic, unfortunately. But if they address the center here and don't address point guard, then big possibility they don't address point guard in free agency as well. I would much rather work on getting that point guard into the team now and worrying about the center later rather than vice versa. So for me, Carrington's the guy. I'm happy with DeSilva falls. I'm happy with Khalil Ware here. Moderately happy with Yves Missy. Mildly happy with Daron Holmes. Okay with Kolek here. I would forgive them for going Collier. I'd understand why they'd go Collier in this spot. But I think if we don't go Carrington, Cleveland do? So let's go to pick number 20 here. I think Cleveland are going to be eyeing Carrington. If they can't have him, I think they're going to still be in on going for a point guard. And if they are in on going for a point guard, Tyler Kolek at 20th overall, I can see the Raptors go in this direction as well because he great just overall feel for the game as a point guard, commands the floor general, can score on the inside, and can shoot the ball. Does the simple things that you want from a point guard well. And I think that if the Cavaliers can have Carrington, because I think they would go Carrington if available, I think they would still go for Kolek. I think Kolek could, I hope I'm saying that correctly. I think he could fall to the end of the first round as well. But I think Cleveland like what they see here. But I'm not sure if he worked out for that. The Raptors probably worked out most guys on this list, by the way. Sorry, I'm talking so much that my mouth is dry. Holy shit, it's already 8. This is flying by, man. I'm having fun with this one. I would like him as well. There's not a lot of players I'd see the Raptors take and go, man, I don't really like that pick. I can see them going in a lot of different ways. All right, let's go to the final 10 of the first round of the draft. Again, workouts, I don't know specifically, but I trust me, like, teams work out a lot more than perhaps is alluded to with reports and stuff. They like the Raptors are going to do their homework with a lot of these guys. So, and also in the past they've have drafted players they haven't worked out. So I wouldn't read too much into that, but it's not nothing as well who they have reportedly worked out. But 21, I believe this is the Pelicans. They need a center, and the center I think they should go for is Yves Missi. I would just flat out, I think they should move on from Jonas Valanciunas. And I've spelt something incorrectly here, but forgive me. You have a defensive anchor, a tenacious rebounder who is going to do his freaking job for this team. There's good talent here, but what they've missed in the past is just somebody who is going to lock down on defense. It hasn't been Valanciunas. Larry Nance isn't going to do enough there. I think Yves Missi is a good fit for this team. I would, again, you might think about the floor spacing with Zion and think that maybe this isn't the ideal, but I think this is that they should be looking for that level of defense that Yves Missi can provide. We'll have to work on maybe conditioning potentially because he only played like 20 minutes per game in college, which lowered his statistical averages if you just looked at box scores. But when you scale up those minutes to like a per 40 possession basis, the numbers are very impressive, and it's enough for, I think, the Pelicans to sort out the center situation, bring in that defense and rebounding, and I think it does gel perhaps better than some people might expect overall with guys like Ingram, guys like Zion Williamson. I wouldn't pass up on this opportunity here if I was the New Orleans Pelicans in this spot, which brings us to pick number 22. The Phoenix Suns, a lot of mid-range workers, a lot of guys who don't get fouled much because they're not going to the rim. Well, draft a guy who gets to the rim at will. That's Isaiah Collier. Too far at this point. I see him sliding for sure. A lot of people have him in this range. Was previously projected as the first overall pick earlier this season. That's not the case, but he is big. And as a point guard, I haven't seen a point guard who just gets into the paint at will. If he wants to get in the paint, he's going to get into the paint. He puts the pressure on the rim. The Phoenix Suns need that. Now, what they will need Collier to do to get better is work on his playmaking, work on not turning over the ball. It's a lot easier when you're working with talented players like Devin Booker, Kevin Durant, to perhaps a slightly lesser degree, Bradley Beal. I think it's a good situation for Collier to go into. I think it's a good position for the Phoenix Suns to get a lot out of Collier. So I think this does work for both ends here. And again, far enough of a slide for Isaiah Collier, and he brings the stuff that Phoenix would want in that position. Number 23, a few directions that the Bucks could go. But I am going to say too far for Khalil Ware. Honestly, this guy could end up, how high? I think there's a reality where he ends up even 12th to the Thunder. They want to bring in a center. And it's hard to predict which teams go for centers, and if they do, which centers do they want to go with. Kelly Ware can end up in the lottery and make this look really bad, but this gives a lot more cover for Brook Lopez as he's aging. And I think in tandem with Giannis on defense, this would be scary. He is a monster on the inside. Maybe that affects floor spacing, but I mean, it doesn't really seem to affect Giannis that much regardless. And there is shooting upside here to tap into. So if he does have some sort of shot where he's making 1-3 a game, maybe taking 2 threes a game, making just under 35% of them, that's kind of enough to want to work with, especially because he's hyper athletic, especially because on defense he is fantastic. He can be that rim protector and allow Giannis to be that help defender as the 4, which is what is ideal for Giannis as a defensive player. Khalil Ware, I like the spot here. Could they go for a forward? I think so. Could they go for somebody who's more switchable? I think so. But I like Khalil Ware going to the Milwaukee Bucks, and I think that both parties would be happy. I don't think this is fantastic for Khalil Ware tapping into his upside, but I think the Bucks might like what they see enough to go with him here, and he'll have to work with it. Let's go to pick number 24, the first of 2 consecutive New York Knicks picks. And I've gone for a reach here. I've really, really grown fond of Bobby Clement as a prospect, and I think that the New York Knicks should as well. He is a versatile big wing, has the upside to defend multiple positions. I might be maybe jumping the gun with the description here, but he's 6'10", 6'11" wingspan. Can definitely defend the 4. We'll probably have to work on his footwork a bit more to defend the 3 more effectively, and work on his strength a little bit to defend the 5 more effectively. But he's got the upside to defend those positions. He is a good jump shooter, has already been playing with adults, playing in the NBL, playing with the Cairns Taipans. And I think that this is the switchable guy who can knock down shots that the New York Knicks have kind of looked for right now with this team. And I think he slots in, definitely. Bobby Clement could end up, I think if he's available at 31, the Raptors strongly consider it here. And I think even the Bucks should consider him at 23. But I would be very happy if he slid to 31 for the Raptors to take. But I think the New York Knicks will like what they see here and go for him at 24. I might swap this and have him lower by the time of the NBA draft, but there's just a lot of boxes that he ticks for the New York Knicks should be looking for here, which kind of makes it difficult to pick the 25th pick for the New York Knicks. But I don't know. I kind of don't love this, honestly. The last 5-6 of the first round have made it difficult, but I think the Knicks just see enough from Filipowski to think that, okay, we just drafted Clement, a guy we like. We don't really need to be assured of this pick, but I think that there is a lot of solid tools for Filipowski to work with and for the Knicks to work with him. He's not fantastic at any specific endeavor, but he is good in a lot of different ways. And I know I just described like Bobby Clement as the type of player the Knicks like. This is not really the type of player the Knicks like. He's not super athletic. He's not super lengthy, but overall, great feel for the game that I think can keep the ball ticking as a floor spacing center in a way. Maybe not from his shooting, but from his high post playmaking. So for a Knicks team that hasn't really had a ton of centers, especially if they lose, this would be specifically if they do feel like they're going to lose Isaiah Hartenstein. Again, I don't love this. I couldn't find a better fit here or a better spot for Filipowski. Don't think a team is going to let him go into the second round. So I think the Knicks might be the team that says, all right, we got 2 consecutive picks. Let's take a chance here for Filipowski to go 25th overall. 26th overall, we're going to go to the Wizards. Now it's time for Keyshawn George. I actually wouldn't hate him going to the Raptors at 19th overall, like many mock drafts have suggested, but I'd rather go in a different direction here. If he does fall all the way to 26, I think the Wizards go, that's far enough for him. A lot of good length. Amazing. Was shooting the ball fantastically for Miami this season. Hasn't shown a ton of it like long-term shooting, but like the type of shots he was making with Miami is fantastic. And kind of has point forward tendencies. Didn't put a position here. My apologies. He's a forward. with decent playmaking, kind of play as maybe a bit of a point forward with a pull-up threat. And it's one of the more raw prospects here. The Wizards, later stage of the draft, will be able to work with that sort of player and give him that patience and give him the platform to develop his game. So I think Keyshawn George far enough here at 26 for the Wizards to take. 27th overall to the Minnesota Timberwolves. Unfortunately, I do have Tyler Smith here. I say unfortunately because if he does, another typo, this is the 27th overall pick. But if Tyler Smith does end up at 31, would be very happy for the Raptors to take him on in that position, but I don't think he gets that far. A lot of good tools for a player who I think he's like 6'10", 6'11" in the forward spot. He's huge. He can shoot the ball, and I think that he's going to be able to help with this Minnesota Timberwolves team. Just adds on to the size and makes a lot of sense for this team to work a little bit development-wise, but also get him integrated fairly quickly potentially to help with this team that clearly is very talented right now and wants to go and challenge for an NBA championship as they did pretty closely this season. 28th overall, Daron Holmes. Reports suggesting that he's been given a draft promise by the Denver Nuggets, that this is the floor for him in the draft. I'll put him here at the floor. Big, who can defend a few spots, can play. He's 6'9", but he can definitely play up at the center, can definitely play as a power forward. Kind of gives them the versatility as a big that they've kind of wanted from Zeke Naji, but haven't gotten. So they're going to get it from Daron Holmes. Knows his role. I think that works as well for a team that has studs all over the place. He is going to be a dog in doing his job for this team to find success. I think the pick makes a lot of sense, and reports suggest that the Nuggets want to go in this direction as well. 29th overall to the Utah Jazz. The Raptors used to own this pick. We're going with Jalen Tyson. A lot of directions you can go at this point of the draft, but he's got really good size, 6'6", shooting guard, played as point guard with his team this season, which I can't quite remember, but plays a point guard for a team that didn't do very well. They were 13-19, his team, but he was very ball dominant and can score. Uses his size really well, whether that's in ball handling to create his own shot, physicality to get inside, hustles all over the place. I think this is the type of player that the Utah Jazz would want to work with here. And I think a few teams would consider in this range. If he does slip into the second round, a lot of teams will have their eyes on him on day 2 of the draft, which brings us to the final pick, number 30, to the reigning champion, Boston Celtics. The Celtics, for me, just find a guy that's going to just do his job. Do his job to support the stars. And I've seen this guy a lot lower than I think he should be. Kevin McCullough, I think it is. Very good defender. He hustles. He cuts. He has good shooting tools that give him upside in that. That's what the Celtics need. Do your job. Hustle. Cut to the rim for the stars. Space the floor for the stars. Defend. He'll do that in the shooting guard position. That's the type of player the Celtics should be looking for at this present point as they look to defend their championship. There's a few guys who might be able to do that job, but one of them that I think they should look for is Kevin McCullough in this position. If there was a 31st overall spot in this draft, it would be to the Raptors, and it would be, in my opinion, Ryan Dunn. Or hopefully Bobby Klintman, if he does fall that far. But I could see him getting some first-round appeal for a lot of the tools that I described there. It will just depend on how much teams believe in his three-point shot. Because if they believe in it, well, you could end up 23rd to the Milwaukee Bucks. Maybe that's about the highest that he would end up. But there you have it. That is the Amateur Hour Sports 2024 first-round mock draft as of June 18th, 2024. Going to do another one of these in a week's time, the night before the draft. But this is what I have as of now. Things that I might look to change. Well, I'll fix the spelling on Rob Dellingham and on defensive anchor for Eves Missing. I'll add the position for Keyshawn George. Things I could change. Both New York picks, I'm not super confident in. Might change those. Not super confident in Zach Edey at 15 or Carrington at 19. I think that's just me really liking Carrington there. Uh, Dillingham could fall further. Ron Holland could fall further. Cody Williams is a complete wild card here who could end up going even to like 12, 13, 14 in the draft. But as of now, I think this is a pretty good base, and I feel pretty good about what I have here. But what do we got? What do we think, guys? What do we think for the first round? This, by the way, while you get comments in, I want to mention, this took a lot of time to do. Not only to do this stream, it's been basically an hour and 15 of me talking about this draft. And it took a lot of time to prepare this graphic and become at least in some capacity acquainted with these players enough to discuss them over the course of this stream today. So please hit that like button if you enjoyed. Hopefully you agree with some. Obviously, with 30 picks being made, you're going to disagree with others. But hopefully you enjoyed and saw my reasoning at the very least. Let's see what the people are saying here. So what we have here is Bronny is not going in the first round. I do not believe Bronny James will go in the first round. I'd be shocked. I think it provides Raptors an interesting chance to trade the 31st pick. If Ryan Dunn's available or Bobby Clemens available, I say go for one of those guys. But if not, maybe go, hey, maybe a team feels as though they can just lock up Bronny by getting our pick. Let's trade away the 31st pick, and that team can get Bronny. But there's no team in that area that I'm thinking is going to go Bronny. I mean, the Knicks, maybe the Knicks, but Wizards won't. Timberwolves won't. Denver won't. Jazz won't. Celtics probably won't. I don't see him going first round. I am off of my hill of saying he will not get drafted. I believe a team will take a stab on him in the second round. But no, not first round for me. I can't do it. Poor Keyshawn. He'll get more play time there than in other spots at least. What are we talking about? We talk about Reed Shepard. He's saying 6'1". Definitely sounding either Dillingham, Shepard, or Colic for who? I'm not sure. Tyler Smith in Minnesota means Cat leaving right. No, I don't think so. I think you just add on to the size there and be a bit more patient with Tyler Smith development wise. He doesn't need to contribute exactly from day one, but I think there's a lot of tools there that they would want to work with. I honestly wanted to give the Timberwolves a point guard, but there just weren't really great options. I think they'll want a guy like Colic to fall to them there, but I don't know if that's going to be the case. So, they need a point guard, but I think that there's just not enough talent with any of the point guards in that range for them to justify picking him at that spot. Maybe that means trading up. Maybe that means trading down. But Tyler Smith, I think, would look good for them there. Hoping a team before the Raps gambles on Bronny for LeBron and we get a better player. There's a chance the Raptors can trade that pick so that somebody can take Bronny. You know what I mean? Again, Ryan Dunn, I like for 31st if I am the Raptors. Who do you guys have the Raptors taking at 19, by the way? I'm a fun guy. Doesn't agree with Carlton Carrington. I know I'm not in what would call a popular position with my Carrington take. But I think there's a lot of ways you can go. Jonathan Mogba with the 31st pick. I'd definitely consider him in this spot. It's definitely something the Raptors would as well. I like what I see from Klintman and Ryan Dunn a little bit more, but I'd be pretty happy with him at 31st overall as well. I really like Williams as a player, so I don't know if it doesn't go to bad team. Detroit. Oh, Cody Williams. Detroit's where you really go to rot, don't you? I mean, figuratively and literally in a certain sense. Tough. But, Detroit. This is, perfect chance to use that. Anywhere but Detroit, maybe some of the prospects will be saying. Draft truly could be unpredictable. Look, this is very hard to get. Look, you have 30 guys here. It's going to be so difficult to nail a lot of these. Like, I think if I get 10 correctly, that'd be pretty unbelievably good. So we'll see. All this with a grain of salt. We have to wait and see with Bruce Brown and Pirtle. We have an extra first rounder. Absolutely. I don't think we will, but we could. Speaking of Pirtle and Bruce Brown trading for another first-round pick or trading up in the draft, tomorrow, noon Eastern time, live on the Bleach Report app, I'm going to be discussing exactly that. If the Raptors could trade up, trade in for another pick, or move off of the 31st overall pick at the draft. And some of those trades include Jakob Pirtle and Bruce Brown. So if you want to see more of those, me covering that, go to the Bleach Report app, follow Jacob_Gramegna, or probably easier, follow me on Twitter at Jacob_Gramegna, which you see right here. I'm going to post a link to my Bleach Report stream somewhere in the range of 11:30, between 11:30 and 12, between the 30-minute start of my Bleach Report stream. And you can check that one out as I cover the trades that could shake up the Raptors' position for the draft. Excited to go live once again in the Bleach Report app tomorrow. Honestly, the support the last couple has been really good, and they're bringing me back to do more as a result. So let's keep the support coming if you guys like it. I'm very thankful for that. Tulon Holmes, he's a really versatile big with great stats. He provide the spacing that Raps need, almost like an Olynyk with more speed and versatility. They could go for him. I've been I'll call myself a late bloomer on Day'Ron Holmes, which is perhaps why I have him lower. But honestly, compared to some spots, I might even be like pretty high on him. He's got a wide range of outcomes, but I definitely see some appeal for Day'Ron Holmes to go higher. There's just, I think for me as well with my list, I have a lot of centers falling in a way. I don't have a lot of centers going ultra high. So, Day'Ron Holmes wouldn't be one of my higher listed centers. I actually think Day'Ron Holmes, now that I think about it a bit more clearly, I think if I do this again, I'll have Day'Ron Holmes going to the Knicks for that specific reason. That just came to me. But I don't think you'd take him over Khalil Ware. I don't think you'd take him over Yves Missy. I don't think you'll take him over Edey. So I think that's why I have him low. But I actually would take him definitely over Filipowski. So, yeah, I think if I redo this next Tuesday, I'm fine with this for today. But I think if I redo this, I will consider Day'Ron Holmes to the Knicks. That's a very good shout. Final questions, final comments here, because I've gone 20 minutes over what I was expecting to go for this stream. Let's see. 31st between Dunn, Christie, Ingram, or Holmes. Ooh, tell you, Day'Ron Holmes is 31st. Yeah, let's do that. Good reports say he has shut down workouts because the Nuggets have said if he's available 28, they're taking him. So that's probably his ceiling for the draft. I would be happy with Missy or Edey or Ware. I don't see a world in which we draft him unless we trade Pirtle. Raps don't have the luxury to have a third center. They don't even have a back point guard. Thank you. That's the clearest explanation of the situation. That's how I feel as well, which is why Carrington is the guy I've looked for there. Draft's probably the most random in modern history outside the top two. Listen, I think we could see some surprises there. I'm not as sold on Riza Shea as some other guys are. Gogan, I'm glad you enjoyed it. I really enjoyed this stream. This was a lot of fun. It was a lot of work, but it's very fulfilling work, honestly. I don't know why I feel so fulfilled to be informed on the draft. It's just enjoyable to learn about the beginning of the path for these guys and then follow that development through their career and see where it goes. Like, Bobby Clemens' shot really started to click. Now he's really good. I remember when that was a question pre-draft. I don't know. I just really enjoy doing this on a year-to-year basis. So I'm glad you guys like it. Some of you, at least, hopefully like it. So if you did enjoy, please make sure to hit that like button. On Thursday, we're going to be doing something similar to this. We're going to be going through specifically my board for the Raptors, who I would take for the Raptors, my kind of priority list as far as the 19th overall pick, maybe 31st overall pick is concerned. So we'll have my board. Basically, we'll go, I guess I can just do a big list, and then it just gets to this guy's available at 31st, you take him. So that's what we'll go through. Maybe I'll create a list of 20 or so players for the Raptors for my big board, and we're going to do this and go through this specifically for the Raptors as a hierarchy on Thursday. So we're going to do Raptor-specific version of this basically on Thursday. Next Tuesday, 1 week from now, we're going to do this again. This exact same stream, except with updated information and updated picks. So if you like this, you're going to like the Thursday one, especially like Raptors. But if you like this, you're going to love Tuesday, closer to the draft. Wednesday for the draft, once again, I'll be live on the Board YouTube channel for the top 10 picks for work. I'll be live 11 to 30 picks on this channel. Second round, I'll be live at the start of the second round for the Raptors pick, and then who knows how, I don't know how far I'll go. I'll probably get to the middle stage of the second round before I become a little bit bored, with all due respect, because I don't really know the guys. Actually, I'll probably wait till Bronny gets drafted before I sign off. But tomorrow, I'll talk about the OG Anunoby rumors. Thursday, I might talk about second round pick potentials for the Raptors. Friday, I'll talk about some guards the Raptors could go for in the first round, but there's going to be lots of great content here. Mainly, guys, please tune into the streams Thursday this week and next Tuesday. And please come through on my Bleacher Report stream. I know it's the middle of the workday, but 12 p.m. Eastern time. If you can make it out, I'll put the link on my Instagram. I'll put the link on my Twitter. I'll put the link in the community tab of this YouTube channel as well. Check out my Bleacher Report stream. I'll be talking about trades the Raptors can make for draft night. What's big about that is that when you support the Bleacher Report streams, again, they see the views and they're more likely to say, hey, come do another stream for us next time. So if you like my stuff, that's the best way to support me. All right, guys. I think that's it. You want to talk about Eric Gaines? I'll look into him. That's why not? I'll put him in the notes here as a player to go through because he's not in my notes as of yet. Eric Gaines, potentially. I don't even know if that's a real. That sounds like a made up name, but let me see. Eric Gaines. Did I get got? Because I don't see this guy. Eric Gaines. Who the fuck is this guy? Is he supposed to get drafted? UAB Blazers. He's short. I don't know. There's not really a lot of hype about him being drafted. He might get drafted, but not to the Raptors at 31st, it seems, unless I'm missing something, which I will look into a little bit more when I have a little bit more time. All right, guys. Hope you enjoyed. If you haven't liked yet, like this one on the way out. If you're new to the channel, subscribe because we're going to be doing more content like this. And keep on supporting amateur, guys. Thanks so much for supporting my work. Eternally grateful. I'll see you at tomorrow's video or the Thursday video or the Thursday stream or tomorrow's Bleacher Report stream.